Margaret never thought a cluttered drawer could weigh so heavily on her heart. It was just a drawer filled with old birthday cards, random keys, and papers she hadn't touched in years. But every time she opened it, a quiet sense of overwhelm crept in, whispering that life was slipping out of control. Sound familiar? You'd be surprised how small messes can cast big shadows over our peace of mind. Today we'll uncover 6 common home organization mistakes that might be holding you back, and reveal quick, simple fixes that changed Margaret's life. Let's begin with the first mistake that often hides in plain sight. 1. Holding onto items out of guilt or sentimentality. Margaret sat cross-legged on the faded rug in her living room, staring at a box she hadn't opened in years. Inside were her late husband's old ties, birthday cards from friends long gone, and a chipped teacup she hadn't used since 1985. The weight of those objects wasn't in their physical form, it was in the memories they carried. She thought, if I throw these away, am I throwing away the people, the moments, the love? Sound familiar? Many of us hold on to items not because we need them, but because we fear that letting them go means forgetting. But here's the truth. Memories aren't stored in old greeting cards or dusty knickknacks. They live in your heart, in your stories, and in the way you smile when you think of those times. Start with a single box. Don't aim to declutter an entire room, just that one box. Pick up each item and ask, does this bring me joy or just guilt? If it's guilt, gently thank the item for its role in your life and let it go. Donate it, repurpose it, or take a photo if you want to keep the memory without the clutter. Margaret realized that letting go didn't erase her husband's memory. In fact, it made space to celebrate him more freely, through stories she shared with friends, through a photo album she created, and in the peaceful, uncluttered corners of her home that now felt lighter, just like her heart. 2. Ignoring clutter hotspots. The pile that grows and grows. Margaret had a little corner in her kitchen where things seemed to magically pile up. Mail, receipts, magazines, an odd pair of reading glasses. She'd glance at the growing stack and think, I'll get to it tomorrow. But tomorrow turned into next week, and next week turned into a mountain that whispered, you're falling behind. These clutter hotspots aren't just physical messes, they're silent stress signals. Every time you pass that pile, a tiny part of your brain registers it as unfinished business. It's like a background noise you can't turn off. Create a clutter reset ritual. Set a timer for just 5 minutes. Yes, 5. Choose one hotspot. Maybe it's the kitchen counter, or the chair in the hallway that mysteriously collects stuff. Sort through it quickly. Junk mail goes straight to recycling. Items that belong elsewhere get put away, and anything important gets a designated spot. Margaret started doing this every evening after dinner. She'd turn on her favorite music, set her timer, and tackle one pile. It became less of a chore, and more of a small victory, like telling clutter, you don't get to boss me around. The best part, that feeling of walking into a tidy space in the morning, with no piles silently judging her. 3. Overcomplicating storage solutions. When Margaret decided to get organized, she did what many of us do. She bought fancy storage bins, labeled baskets, and a set of color-coded folders that promised to change her life. But weeks later, those bins were just new places to hide clutter. The labels were pretty sure, but the system was too complicated to keep up with. Here's the secret. Nobody tells you. Organization isn't about pretty containers. It's about simplicity. If it takes more than 2 steps to put something away, chances are it'll end up on a chair instead. Ditch the complicated systems. Use clear containers so you can see what's inside without opening them. Keep items you use daily within easy reach. No bending, stretching, or moving 10 things to get to one. Create drop zones for everyday essentials like keys, glasses, and your favorite book. Margaret swapped her fancy storage bins for simple open baskets near her front door and kitchen. No more rummaging for keys or wondering where she left her glasses. And instead of feeling overwhelmed by the system, she felt in control. Organizing wasn't a project anymore. It was just part of life. Margaret's journey through these first 3 mistakes wasn't just about tidying up. It was about reclaiming her space, her time, and her peace of mind. She discovered that letting go isn't losing. It's making room for what truly matters. And as she stood in her now cozy, clutter-free living room, she didn't just see an organized home, she felt it, in the calmness of her mind and the lightness in her heart. 4. Neglecting invisible clutter, digital, paperwork, mental clutter. Margaret thought she had it all under control. Her living room was neat, the kitchen spotless, and even the bedroom felt airy and organized. But despite her tidy surroundings, she still felt overwhelmed. There was a nagging sense of disarray she couldn't quite put her finger on. That's when she realized the clutter wasn't just in her home, it was in her mind, her inbox, and the stack of papers tucked into drawers she avoided opening. Invisible clutter sneaks up on us because, well, we don't see it. But it's there, in the pile of unopened mail, the endless digital notifications, and the mental to-do lists that never seem to shrink. It's the kind of mess that doesn't trip you physically, but can leave you mentally exhausted. Start with one type of invisible clutter. If paperwork feels overwhelming, set aside 10 minutes a day to sort through it. Create 3 simple piles: keep, shred, and recycle. For digital clutter, unsubscribe from newsletters you never read and organize your email into folders. Margaret tackled her invisible clutter, one small step at a time. She set a cheerful timer, she called it her peace clock, and focused on clearing just a handful of papers or emails each day. Over time, the mental fog lifted. She felt lighter, not because she'd cleaned her house, but because she'd cleared her mind. The emotional relief was real, proof that clutter isn't always about what you see. Sometimes it's about what you feel. 5. Believing it's too late to change. Margaret used to say, "I'm too old for all this organizing nonsense." She believed that after 70, life should be about comfort, not change. But deep down she felt stuck, like her home had become a reflection of that mindset. Static, cluttered with things she no longer needed, but too afraid to let go. This belief is one of the biggest barriers many of us face. It's not just about the stuff, it's about the story we tell ourselves. I've lived this way for years, why bother now? But here's the truth, it's never too late. Change doesn't care about age, it cares about mindset. Redefine what change means. It's not about overhauling your entire life, it's about small, meaningful shifts that make daily living easier and more joyful. Start by choosing one tiny habit, a new way to fold your laundry, a new spot to keep your keys, or even rearranging a single shelf. Margaret's breakthrough came when she decided to reorganize her bedroom nightstand. It seemed small, almost insignificant, but the moment she did, she felt a sense of control she hadn't felt in years. That tiny change sparked a ripple effect. She realized that every small improvement added up, creating a life that felt fresh, manageable, and full of possibilities. 6. Overlooking the emotional impact of clutter. One afternoon, Margaret sat in her favorite armchair, sipping tea, and watching the afternoon light dance across her living room floor. The house was quieter than usual, the kind of silence that echoed. She looked around, not at the furniture or the walls, but at the invisible heaviness that lingered. That's when it hit her. Clutter isn't just physical, it carries emotions: grief, regret, nostalgia, even fear. We often underestimate how deeply our environment affects our emotional well-being. A cluttered space can trigger feelings of anxiety, sadness, or overwhelm without us even realizing it. It's like carrying a backpack full of rocks. You get so used to the weight, you forget what it feels like to be free. Do an emotional walkthrough of your home. Move from room to room and notice how each space makes you feel. Is there a corner that feels heavy? A drawer you avoid opening? Identify those emotional hotspots. Then focus on one small area and ask yourself, what am I holding on to here and why? Margaret discovered that her hallway closet wasn't just a storage space. It was a time capsule of old fears and unfinished projects. By clearing it out, she wasn't just making room for fresh linens, she was making room for fresh energy. The act of letting go became an emotional release. A way to reclaim not just her space but her peace. Margaret's journey through these final mistakes was transformative. She didn't just organize her home, she organized her life. She let go of guilt disguised as keepsakes, faced invisible clutter that weighed on her mind, and shattered the belief that change had an expiration date. Her home became more than a tidy space, it became a sanctuary, a reflection of the woman she'd always been: resilient, capable, and full of life. And as she stood in the doorway of her freshly organized home, she smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she had reclaimed her power, one small change at a time. Who knew a few piles of paper and a rogue junk drawer could be such sneaky little life anchors? But look at you, armed with quick fixes and ready to conquer clutter like a boss. So grab your peace clock, channel your inner Margaret, and let's turn chaos into cozy. You've got this.